The reason Ilhan Omar is not condemning all of the Somalians that are committing the atrocious fraud in Minnesota right now with the healthcare system and the autism in the children, the fake autism in children, is because she herself is part of the fraud. Now, let me explain something to you that you probably know, but you might not know all the full details behind it. So Ilhan Omar is a married woman. She's married with children. She's also married to a white man, which, if you watched yesterday's video, is very ironic given the fact that she seems to loathe white men and thinks that they are the reason the United States of America is doing as poorly as it is, because they are all murderers. Her words, not mine. Watch yesterday's video, you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. What's interesting here is that in 2024, Ilhan Omar and her white husband, Tim Minette, that's his name, they had a household net worth between, and get this, $6 million and $30 million at the end of 2024. That's a really big swing, if you ask me, between $6 million and $30 million. Now, Minette and Omar's wealth derives, they're saying, almost entirely from his ownership stake in two companies, a California-based winery and a venture capital firm. Now, the winery is extremely interesting to me because Ilhan Omar's husband, Tim, and his partner were accused of swindling investors in their California winery. According to this, Tim Minette and his business partner, Will Haler, deny defrauding the investor, while another company they started owes $1.2 million to cannabis growers in South Dakota. So, here's what it comes down to. They asked Tim and his friend, asked a friend of theirs or a business owner, a restaurant owner, for some money so they could get started in a wine business because they were gifted some grapes, which is the dumbest thing I've ever heard. And somehow they're trying to make people believe this is correct. They were gifted some grapes and they decided they were going to take these grapes and they wanted to turn them into wine. So they reached out to the people in Sonoma Valley and they're like, hey, how do we make this into wine? But they needed money to get it started. They had the grapes, but they didn't have any backing for it. So they reached out to a restaurant person they knew and they're like, hey, will you loan us $300,000 so we can get these grapes smushed into some wine and we will pay you back with dividends over time. You should get back $900,000. And if we don't pay you back on time, we'll give you a 10% interest for every month that we are late paying you. So the person says, okay, first off, in case you're not aware, let me just show you what Ilhan Omar and her husband look like. That is her white husband right there, that she married in 2020, by the way, who then, once they got married, he decided to change his religion to Islam to follow behind her religion. Okay. Now this is fall of 2021. So this is after they got married, because they got married in 2020. And then fall of 2021, a year after they got married, the Tim guy, the husband, decided that he wanted to, like I said, start this winery. And he reached out to DC area restaurant owner Naeem Mohd, M-O-H-D, however you say it, and asked him for $300,000, right? But here's the problem. Here is the problem. Minette came recommended by Mohd's attorney, Faisal Gill, which, if you pay attention to all these names here, none of them are American names. We will continue on. Who was a former Democratic operative himself, who knew Minette from his days working on Keith Ellison's congressional campaigns, because Ilhan Omar's husband used to be in politics, in the Democrat politic world. Now, Minette and Gill had been friends since then, and then Omar endorsed Gill in his unsuccessful bid for LA County attorney, which didn't work, and Gill donated $1,000 to Omar's campaign in 2021. So they're all tied together, right? And Gill said, I trusted Tim. If it was not for Tim, the deal would have never happened, meaning that $1,000 to the campaign and everything else. So Mohd, the business owner, or the restaurant owner in Washington, D.C., wired $300,000 to Ilhan Omar's husband, Tim, and his longtime business partner, Will, with whom he founded a political consultancy called E Street Group in 2018. That's how they know each other. But 18 months came and went, and the Mohd guy only received about 200% return. He was without receiving the profit that he was promised from the winery. E Street Crew was the name of the winery. They owed him $300,000, and then the guy had to sue them for $780,000 because they never ever paid him. Now, the winery's struggling finances represent a significant change in fortune for Minette and Haler, since Omar announced she would no longer use their E Street Group on her campaigns after paying them around $3 million in the 2020 election. So not only did she pay her husband's company $3 million, Then her husband starts this winery and then takes money from people and never pays them back. This sounds a little fraudulent and money laundering-ish, if you ask me. So you have all this going on, right? The guy never got paid back. And it's been a struggle since then. But according to this, let me see if I've got this here for you. I want to give you guys all the right stuff. In 2018 is when Ilhan Omar was initially elected to office. And between 2018 to the end of 2024, somehow she amassed $30 million. And you have to think a lot of it has to do with the underhand things that her husband is doing and the underhand things that she was doing during her campaigning when she is investing, so she says, $3 million campaign money into her husband's company. And then, after they decide to get married, they, cancel the whole whatever. There's a lot of questions there for me. But on top of all of this, it's ridiculous that Ilhan Omar is not being looked at more deeply for her ties to absolutely everything that's going on. I want to give you a little bit of background. So she was married to her brother, Ahmed Nursaid Elmi, from 2009 to 2017. Then they got divorced and she married somebody else named Ahmed Hirsi, which I guess she just really likes the name Ahmed. And they were married for a year until she divorced him and then married Tim Mynet in 2020. So she divorced her brother, got married to another guy for a year, divorced him, got married to another guy. These are basically months apart. These divorces to marriage are months apart, which is really, dirty if you ask me, that she's just bouncing around from dude to dude, which, you know what? Do you, boo, but kind of gross if you ask me. So now she's married to this guy. And there was this post a very long time ago where they were talking about how people were alleging that Congresswoman Omar only married Mr. Hersey to cover up the fact that she married her brother, Mr. Elmi. Okay, that's what they're saying. While Omar has not responded to the recent uproar, she addressed these very allegations in the past. So this is what, reacting to a post supposedly confirming that Omar married her brother, the Democrat Firebrand had replied, "The only thing that is confirmed is your stupidity. Hope that helps," because there's a lady named Juanita Broderick on X, and she posted, "No post from Ilhan of Minnesota since this was confirmed to be true," meaning the marriage between herself and her brother, which Steven Crowder, you guys know who he is. He's the one who came out with the receipts of it. He has the paperwork for it showing that she married her brother so he could get citizenship. And Ilhan Omar never has denounced it or said that, no, that's not true. Her only response was this post that she put up that said, "The only thing that's confirmed is your stupidity. Hope that helps." But that's not saying no. The words "no, that's not true" have not come out of her mouth. All she does is either stay silent or, give you these little one-liners that make it seem like maybe that's not true, but she has never emphatically said, "No, I did not marry my brother." And until that happens, she married her brother, and it was for citizenship. On top of this, because unfortunately there's always more, you have the fact that there's shockwaves going through right now after what President Trump has just said. This was after the Afghan refugee, they're calling him an Afghan refugee that Biden let in during his administration, shot and wounded 2 National Guardsmen. So according to Gunther Eagleman over on X, he said, "Holy crap, there are shockwaves being sent through America tonight as Trump made this speech," which I'll show you guys in just one second. It said, "The crimes of the Biden administration are not going to be forgotten. It's time to arrest Alejandro Mayorkas." Now, according to this, the last administration let in 20 million unknown and unvetted foreigners from all over the world, from places that you don't want to even know about. And this is according to President Trump. And on top of that, every last illegal that Biden let invade will be sent packing, which is the plan, the hope, right? He says, "We're not going to put up with these kind of assaults on law and order by people who shouldn't even be in our country. We must now re-examine every single alien who has entered our country from Afghanistan under Biden, and we must take all necessary measures to ensure the removal of any alien from any country who does not belong here or add benefit to our country." And he says, "Send them all packing." And this is at his address after the 2 National Guard troops were shot in DC. You guys can see him speaking there because once again, they're saying that the armed Afghan man went up to and shot the female in the head. And then I don't remember if they said stabbed or shot the other person. It's a whole situation that is absolutely beyond disturbing. But you have President Trump. He's going to put a stop to all of this, as he should, because this is not something that should be allowed to happen within our borders. And the only reason it's happening is because of the previous Democrat administrations who let in all of these illegal aliens, these illegal immigrants. You have them from Somalia, you have them from Haiti, you have them from China even, you have them from all over the world, Mexico, and any places in the south of us. And they're all just coming in willy-nilly like it's nothing until, of course, President Trump takes office and he puts a stop to it. And now he's working his way through with ICE to send back the people who are not here legally. And for some reason, the Democrats and liberals seem to forget that if you are here illegally, you are a criminal. If you have not gone through the process to be here legally, if you have not started the process to be here legally, if you are just biding your time within the borders of our country so that you can make money and send it back to your country, or so you can be within our country to cause strife and pain and whatever else, you are a criminal. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it, right? For some reason, Democrats don't seem to understand that. And I want you to hear what President Trump had to say here. Let me get this back here, and I want you to listen. Let's make sure I have everything else closed out, because I have a tendency to, unfortunately, have too many things open and you can hear too much going on. Here we go.
Where hundreds of thousands of Somalians are ripping off our country and ripping apart that once great state.
Minnesota.
Billions of dollars are lost, and gangs of Somalians come from a country that doesn't even have a government, no laws, no water, no military, no nothing. As their representatives in our country preach to us about our Constitution and how our country is no good. We're not going to put up with these kind of assaults on law and order by people who shouldn't even be in our country. We must now re-examine every single alien who is at.
So basically what I was saying to you, and this is because of everything that is going on, again, within our borders, but a lot of the things that are happening in Minnesota right now, because Tim Walz turns a blind eye to it. And you have to ask yourself, how can Tim Walz, the governor of Minnesota, sit there and watch the things happening within his state and pretend like it's not happening, or defend the people that are defrauding the taxpayers of Minnesota and the rest of this country and act like it's not a big deal? That is where my irateness, I think might be the right word, comes in, because he knows for a fact. I mean, you have the DOJ going after these people, the Department of Justice going after them. You can see for yourself what is going on, and he pretends like it's nothing. You have to wonder how his pockets are being lined by everything that's transpiring. So I want you to hear what Tim Walz himself had to say in response to Trump's fraud criticisms. And I want you to listen to him and just remind yourself, this man could have been vice president of the United States if the United States hadn't been smart enough to not vote for Kamala Harris. So take a listen.
Not helpful where the president went beyond fraud and decided to, again, target an entire community, try and extrapolate from this people who are here legally, fleeing civil war, living in Minnesota. That's not helpful. At the same time, remember, it was this administration that cut our anti-terrorism dollars, our anti-fraud stuff on the federal level. So we welcome support from folks. We welcome, and I will say, the U.S. attorneys here have been incredibly helpful with doing this. But this is the president distracting from his own problems of threatening to kill United States senators for expressing the responsibility of the Constitution. So this is not surprising. It's unhelpful. But what I would say is that if the president wants to help us on the fraud sides of things, if he wants to help us with USDA and other agencies to make sure that they're tightening up, we welcome that. But what he did was simply stirs the pot. It brings up the divisions amongst us, and it doesn't do anything to actually tackle the actual fraud issue, which
you want to actually tackle the fraud issue, you get rid of the people who are here illegally, who are committing the fraud. Seems pretty fucking clear to me, but for some reason, good old Tampon Tim over here can't seem to get it through his head that that's exactly what the president is trying to do. By rescinding the TPS, the temporary protective services, temporary protective orders or service orders. Well, I can't remember the letters there. That's exactly what he is trying to do by going through and making sure that if you are here illegally, you are deported. That's exactly what he's trying to do. He is trying to make Minnesota great again, since Tim Walz is hell-bent on destroying it every single day that he is in office as governor of Minnesota. I'm not a fan of Tim Walz. If you've been here before, you already know this. I think he is absolute trash. I think that he likes to put on that sad puppy dog face and talk, but he doesn't really say anything. And the things he does say are complete blatant lies or misconstrued truths or anything like that. Then you have here, Laura Ingraham posted, Trump forced the truth into the spotlight in Minnesota. John Justice says, if it hadn't been for Trump saying he'd revoke TPS, media would have ignored this reporting. Now the fraud is front and center, and it's time for Governor Walz to resign. And I want you guys to have a little bit of a listen to this, if you will. Well, like I said, let's again make sure that I don't have random stuff playing in the background. And let's go. This is from Fox News. Listen.
John, you heard them in that clip we played. They said they're not going anywhere.
Which is what they said.
And a lot of these temporary protected status people from Somalia, this has gone back 30 years. It was first granted in 91.
That's Bill Clinton,
under
right?
H.W. Bush.
Oh, Bush.
Okay, that was when the country was torn apart by civil war. But it just reminds us that if we import people from countries with very, very different value systems than ours, it's fraught with problems.
Mm-hmm.
And now, all these years later, we see what's happened to
Minnesota.
Minneapolis, which is one of my favorite places in the United States.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Well, the focus of criticism coming from the left and the lack of concern about the fraud tells you all you need to know.
That's it. The lack of concern about the fraud tells you all you need to know. Everybody that is up in arms right now, who is complaining, who is yelling, they are mad that they're looking at it from a racial standpoint. I don't give a shit if these people were, white, brown, Asian, whatever you want, whatever they are. It does not matter. The fact of the matter is they happen to be Somalian that are pushing this fraud through. No matter who was doing it, there would be a massive problem. $400 million in 1 year of fraud for the healthcare system by faking autism in children so these parents can have some pocket money from these health centers is some absolute bullshit. It just happens to be that it is by people who are here illegally, who are then taking that money and sending it back to the terrorist, was his name, Al-Shabaab in Somalia. We are now funding terrorism because of the Somalis here in the United States. Our money, your taxpayer money, my taxpayer money is now funding terrorism in Somalia because of this. And I think that is being overlooked by the Democrats because obviously they have no problem funding terrorism as long as they get to put some of that funding into their pockets as well. Whew, y'all, it has been a day and it's not even over yet. So according to this is Ilhan Omar actually reposted this herself. She reposted this on her X page and it says, I challenge you to come forward with evidence, if at all there's any. You can't victimize a whole community for the actions of a few. Yes, you can, when that whole entire community is in on it. A few may be opening up the health centers and a few of them may be spending the money and shelling it out, but all of them are in on it. Every single person who walked into one of those health centers and pretended their kid was autistic so they could put money in their pocket, they are part of it. It is your entire fucking community that is part of this. It is destroying Minnesota in and of itself and is, again, like leaching out into the rest of the country. It's like a slow spreading disease and it's got to be stopped some way, somehow. This is Ilhan Omar. I'm not going to make you listen to her like all the way because nobody wants to do that. But I want you to hear what she's saying because I think it's very interesting.
That language puts the lives of Somalis not only in Minnesota, but across the country in danger.
No. Somalians put themselves in danger by coming to this country illegally to try to defraud this country as much as they can. And by carjacking people, by robbing people, raping people, all these things that are happening in Minnesota as well. They've done this to themselves. You will not make me feel guilty for their actions. That's not how this is going to work, boo-boo. You need to get yourself in check. You need to get your people in check. And then the president is going through and doing what he needs to do to get them out of here. And I'm perfectly okay with that, personally. That's just me. Anyway, little off topic, but happy Thanksgiving, boys and girls. Little cheers to you, little baby mimosa to get the day going. This is information that, could have waited, but I wanted you guys to have it now so that you understand exactly what's going on and the hypocrisy and the irony behind everything Ilhan Omar does. She shits all over white people and then marries a white man. She marries her brother, never says she didn't. She keeps bouncing from guy to guy to guy. Who knows when she's going to divorce this white dude and move on to the next person and try to, swindle money out that way. It's just, at some point, you would think that the Democrats would wake up and go, maybe we have a problem here. But until then, I'll be happy to help point it out for them. So I love you all very much. Have a fabulous day. And we'll talk about this again later. Bye-bye.